Hello, this is Mike, and I'm going to talk a little bit about the Raritan SeaEra toilet maintenance. So I have a Catalina 355 sailboat, and that's the toilet that we have on the sailboat. It's actually the seawater model with a remote pump. So on the default on the Catalina 355 is this one switch that triggers two pumps. One is the macerator pump and the flush pump, and the other is the seawater inlet fill pump. So I was having problems with my toilet not flushing, and it would overflow if I didn't close the seacock on the fill. So I'd have to close the seacock on the fill and slowly push that flush button for maybe 5 seconds at a time, and it would slowly go down. So there's definitely a problem. So I finally got around to taking it apart, and that's what I learned a lot of things, and I'm going to show some information about that. So I'm at home right now. I took the toilet apart and brought it home, and it's on the bench right here, and there it is. I'll turn the camera around a minute and talk about some things. Let me pause it here for a sec. So the first thing I found is trying to take it apart. There were no real instructions on it. I couldn't find any instructions on how to disassemble the thing. In the back of the operator maintenance and installation guide, there's a list of all the parts and what order they're in, but it doesn't have written instructions, and I Googled it and couldn't find instructions on how to disassemble it. So ended up breaking the impeller housing to get it off, and now I know how to disassemble it, so we'll talk about that when I show the things. So I think I'm ready to show the parts. So let me turn this around. Okay, so this is the lower unit of the toilet out on my bench with all the parts disassembled. This is the operation, maintenance, and installation instructions. SeaEra toilet, the seawater model remote pump is what we got. In the very back of this, it has all the parts. So there we got all the parts, and right here is the macerator assembly, and which is what these parts are right here. And this is the lower unit housing. All the parts' numbers and all the names of the parts. And there is a repair kit. There's two repair kits. And the one that I got is the DISRK SeaEra discharge repair kit. But it has parts for both the macerator and the discharge area. So let's go over these parts. This is what the motor attaches to on the outside. Okay, this is what the motor attaches to on the outside. So right there, and then you got a washer that goes on the lower unit housing. The impeller comes next. Right, fits right in there. There's a washer in the repair kit here. If you can see that. It's got a metal spring in it, and that's the motor shaft goes through there and forms a tight seal so it doesn't leak. The impeller will go on there. Motor shaft comes through here. This is the impeller housing. And that's going to be here, and this, here's the impeller, not lining this up right, the impeller housing with a notch that goes on top, and that'll go right there, and then this whole, and then you've got the motor shaft comes through here, the macerator blade goes on top of that. The lock washer goes on top of that, and a 3/16 nut. A 3/16 nut goes on and holds that all on. Now theoretically, this whole thing will slide out. If you take off these 4 bolts, the whole thing will slide out. But you get corrosion and calcium buildup along this housing, so it doesn't slide out. I'll show you how that goes in. So here's the, okay, got the camera mounted here. So this is the impeller housing. There's a notch on top. The notch on top goes right into there. So if we put this in, and it'll kind of slide, and as long as that notch is to the top, then it'll go further in. And it slides pretty easily, but that's the thing that'll corrode. There's a lot of corrosion on this when you disassemble it. But if that will slide, then you undo these 4 screws with the motor on it and pull, and this will come out. Well, it didn't come out for me, and I didn't know what else to do. So I kept pulling and pulling and pulling, and ended up breaking my impeller housing. So I had to get a new one of these. Bought it from Raritan for 13 bucks with 10 bucks shipping. So you don't want to break that. Instead, what you can do if it doesn't pull out is you get a 3/8 inch socket and go into the bowl, and this is much easier to do without the bowl on here. If you just have the upper bowl off, you go into there and then get it on the nut. Get on the nut on the end of the macerator blade and get that thing loosened up. You'll have to put probably a pliers on the end of the motor shaft on the other side to hold the shaft still while you loosen that. But then that can just loosen all the way. Once it's loose, you can probably get your finger in there and take it all the way off and let it drop. And then this will come off, and then the impeller should come out, and everything on here should be able to come out. And then you can slowly get this off if you need it off. You can just leave it on there, but if you can get it off and clean stuff, then that'd probably be good. But once it's in there, if you can get stuff off and leave it in there, that's probably fine too. So that's disassembly. In hindsight, I probably it's good to get this all cleaned out, but that wasn't my problem. My problem was within the discharge. The discharge, so the impeller is going to be in here. It's going to be pumping water out of this discharge area. This discharge area is going to be it's going to be coming out here, and this is your discharge connection here. It's going to be right in there. This thing goes in, and you've got 4 screws on there, and there's 4 screws. You take off those 4 screws and you have access to this. There's a joker valve right in there, and this is like a one-way valve. Pushes discharge out, but if there's backflow, then it'll kind of hold this closed so it won't come. Theoretically, I had backwash a little bit. But my main problem was this was all junked up and clogged, so there wasn't much room to that. So if you just for maintenance, I think taking this thing off and clearing that hose twice a year, once a year, depends how much you use your toilet, that would be a lot of the problem. Let me show one other thing. I bought this for $4 at the hardware store. It's Zip It. It's a little snake. 2 foot long, 2.5 feet long, and what I did is I just put this thing in here and went up the edge and just kept working all the the calcium builds up and the stuff that comes off. And that cleared it a lot, and probably sufficiently, because the tube goes up to the holding tank. Okay, so one note about disassembly, what I think I'm going to try to do next time for disassembling. Well, I wish the motor, the electrical wires for the motor could just unplug. If I could just unplug the motor, take off these 4 bolts that hold the whole toilet in, take these 4 screws out. I could take the whole toilet out and work on it on a bench. I'm 6'4", I'm a big guy, I don't like working in small spaces. So if I could just have those wires on the motor, unplug those wires, take these 4 bolts out, take these 4 screws out, I could take the whole unit out and put it on a bench. So maybe I'll do that. If you can't, then I'd take these screws off, get the macerator blade off with a nut. I don't know if that's probably pretty hard to do with the toilet bowl on. So maybe taking the toilet bowl, the upper bowl off, and then you can get in and take the macerator blade nut off, and then this will pop off. And then you can take the whole thing out. But for maintenance, I would just pop off these 4 screws and clean out this. Now, I was all worried about getting a whole bunch of water and yucky water coming out of this, but there wasn't that much. And if you flush a whole bunch with fresh water, it's going to go up this tube. So if anything comes out, nothing's going to come out of the holding tank, because this deposits in the top of the holding tank, so it won't come back through this. Only water that's going to come out is what's from here to the holding tank. And if that's all clean water, then a bunch of towels and pull this off, get one of these things, get that all cleaned out. I brought out a hose into the bathroom through the window, and after cleaning it out, shot the hose up there and had a bucket so I could get all the dirty stuff out. So that's one of the main maintenance things. The other is you'll see that there's a whole bunch of calcium deposits that end up clogging this all in. So I bought a gallon of distilled white vinegar for about $3, and you just soak this in there, and put it in a bucket. So I put it in this bucket and just had soaked these parts in there, and it's just a mild acid, I think. So and these things are just popping right off, and there's some in the back here, and so this thing can actually be used to pull this off, get more of that gunk out of there. And once you have soaked it for a while, it'll come out, and then you don't have to damage it by scraping it too hard with a sharp tool. So there you go. Cleaning discharge tube. Okay. I'm going to pause for now. Okay, I temporarily put the bowl on the lower unit to see how hard it would be to fit a socket inside the bowl to get this macerator blade nut off with the whole thing together. And it'd be possible, but it'd be pretty hard, because that does fit down there, and you could go on the nut there, and if that was on the nut, with the ratchet, there's just enough room to make it click once. So actually you could probably just get it on there and turn the motor shaft from the other side of the motor, because the shaft sticks out the end of the motor. to get that all the way off. And then once that nut is off, then you could pull this stuff off. Get the impeller off. And note that the impeller, there's quite a bit of clearance with the impeller. It's not a tight fit for the impeller housing in the impeller. So that'll definitely come right out, even if there's quite a bit of buildup on there. So that's it. Okay, so a quick thought of what I'm thinking about maintenance. So if you can flush with fresh water, you can go longer between maintenance. But if you're flushing with salt water, then there's going to be more calcium buildup. So I think I'm going to regularly, I think this is where I'm having a lot of problems, is the constriction that builds up right in here in the discharge tube. So this is a discharge tube. It goes from wide to narrow, and you get some calcium buildup in there, and it restricts that. This is the joker valve. It goes in here, one-way valve, and it gets kind of clogged up. So that's just taking off 4 screws. I'm taking off these 4 screws, and that should pop out. And then that can be clean. There's not much room here, but you can take this off and get a snake like this in there to just clean stuff out, a couple feet, and then get a hose and a bucket and really wash that out. Maybe get a new repair kit, and you can get a new joker valve. And just do that regularly. Maybe once a year is fine. For that, this is a little bit more involved to take the macerator apart. But now that I know how to do it, I may do that once every 2 years. I usually go out sailing for multiple days at a time. Probably 80% of the time I'm going out for multiple days. Rarely do day sails. So I'm using the toilet a lot. So now I know how to maintain it. I'll clean this out regularly and take this apart once a year, maybe once every 2 years. And I'm going to try to flush with fresh water. So quick thing on that, I'm going to try to make 2 switches instead of 1 switch. So right now it's a flush and fill is the same button. If I get another switch, then I can have a separate fill and flush. So flush is going to run this motor. Fill I can use to fill seawater. But if I don't want to fill with seawater, I'll just bring the shower hose over and use freshwater freshwater fill with the shower hose, which goes right over there. And I'll probably do that a lot. If I'm only out for a couple days and the 100 gallons on the boat is plenty to use freshwater flushing all the time. Okay, that's it. Okay, one other note on maintenance is what I'm going to try to do is use this distilled white vinegar and keep some of this on the boat, and probably to help clean out those deposits, dump a quart of this down there and kind of let the vinegar sit in this area, inside of the bowl, inside of here, and up the hose, maybe a foot or 2 up the hose, and let it sit for half an hour. And that'll the vinegar will help dissolve all those deposits. And then after a half an hour, then flush it all into the holding tank, and probably help clean up the holding tank as well. Okay, I'm going to see if I can videotape this. I'm about to insert this macerator into the lower unit. And so this is the housing, the impeller housing. The impeller's in there. The blade is on, and the nut, lock washer and nut is tightened on. So I grabbed a pair of pliers and grabbed the shaft at the end and the socket and tightened that down. I put a little bit of silicone grease on this. I'm not sure if that's a good idea or not. We'll see, to see if it can come out easier next time. I also put a little bit of silicone grease on the shaft. Hopefully that's okay. So now, so this is easier. I tighten this on in this place, and this is just loose, but I'm going to put this notch in the top and slide that in, and then I don't have to put it on from within here. So let's see if that works. I gotta align that top about there. See if I can get it lined up. Okay, let me see if I can line it up. Get it in there. There we go. Now can I get in there? So that has to be lined up just right. There we go. Oh, I forgot the rubber washer. So that's how you do it. But now, go in the installation kit and get this rubber washer that I forgot. And I get to do it again. Alright, so that's how it do it. I'll go ahead and do it again. Okay, bye. Okay, so now I got the new rubber washer from the repair kit in there. And now I'm going to try it again. Get more practice. Be right towards the top. Adjust it a little bit. There it goes. There it goes. Okay. So that, I believe, is on. There's the impeller in there. There's the macerator blade and the nut in there. Okay. I just need to put the bolts in. So I'll do that. Okay, this is where I mentioned earlier I'd like to have these wires maybe loop around to the top here and be able to disconnect right here. So I could disconnect it right here. I could take everything I just did, I could do up on my bench instead of down on my knees in the bathroom. And I found out, I mean, if you follow these wires, they go inside of here, and there they are. There is the connectors right there. So they will pull apart there, and I think the male parts will come out, and I think one at a time they could fit through that hole. But unfortunately, even to get these two apart, you have to be a magician. You have to get two hands in there, so you have to be on your back on the floor. Okay, I thought I'd show this. I have the macerator motor back on and the discharge outlet screwed back in with the joker valve in there. I think the joker valve actually acts as a washer as well to seal that. Now I'd like to show that you can actually see in here. If you look in there, you can see the macerator blade with everything together. Okay. There you go. And so being able to see it and with the top bowl off makes it so much easier. But you can actually get this in there and get this on that nut. So by having the bowl off, putting this in there, or even with the bowl on, if you can get that down there, then you grab a grab this thing, the end of the shaft here with pliers, while you crank this to loosen it up and get it off. I think that's it. Oh, yeah, getting the bowl off, you need to just unscrew this fill from the toilet, and then take these bolts off and lift the top of the toilet off. So you unscrew this at the back, undo these bolts, and pull the toilet off, and then you can easy access to everything. Okay, now tighten these bolts. It's all together. The discharge is all so then everything's back on, ready for the bowl to be put on with this washer. The washer on there, put the bowl on, and connect it to the fill line, and then we're done. And this is what I was talking about before. This is the flush button, and it powers both the macerator pump and the fill pump. And I'll show you that wiring in a minute. But what I'm thinking of doing is putting another switch right here and marking this one flush and this one fill. And this will be a saltwater fill. And then to use freshwater fill, you just take the shower from up there and turn it on and fill up the bowl with however much you want of fresh water. Okay, this is a look at the push button switch for the toilet flush right now. It's got a positive 12 on it, looks like, and two wires coming off of that switch. One for follows wires. One goes to the flush pump, one goes to the fill pump, and both of them are on the same switch. So what I'm thinking of doing is putting another switch right next to it, and taking the fill pump wire off of that switch and putting it on the other switch. And I'll have to get a bridge from the common plus 12 to go over to the other switch as well. Anyway, we'll see if that works. Okay, so what I did here to take this fill off the toilet, so I loosened the what is this called? Hose clamp. Loosen that, and then if we can break this loose, then this will spin. That'll spin, and if you can make that spin, then this can unscrew from here. So you kind of have to put some channel locks on here and make sure that holds still, and then you can slowly unscrew it from here to make that come off. So after getting this all together, I found at the bottom of the repair kit this Super Lube lubricant, which I didn't put on. I had put on some silicone grease. I have no idea if this is silicone grease or not, but I figured I should use it, so I tested the theory of taking those 4 bolts off and the whole thing sliding out, and it did, because everything's clean. And so this came off, and the housing came off, and the impeller came off. And now I'm going to use this grease that came with the repair kit. It's got a nice little tip on it. Give it a fine amount. Put some grease on this. Put some grease on this, because this is right where the shaft goes through, and that's where this stays still and the shaft rubs. So that's probably the most important place. Plus, I'll use it here on the impeller housing to see if it can keep that nice and clean, and hopefully it'll slide out next time. If not, we'll have to undo the macerator bolt at the end. Okay, so one thing I don't think I made clear before is why this won't slide out. if the macerator housing here, or if the impeller housing, which is here, is stuck in the lower unit and won't come out, the blade won't go through there, so the motor can't come out. So either the impeller housing needs to come out, or this nut needs to come off, and the macerator blade needs to come off, so the motor can come out with the impeller housing in the lower unit. And that is a 3/8 inch nut. I think I might have said 3/16 before, but it is a 3/8 inch nut. Okay, so got it all back together. So now I know the lower unit is plastic and white, and that is very, very white down there right now because it's very clean. So if that gets isn't turning brownish, then I'm getting some buildup on it, and it was definitely brown. And so I had about a 1/16 of an inch of buildup there. So if I know it's there, if I see it there, then I know it's throughout. And it's time to put some vinegar in there and let it soak for half an hour and flush it. So I'll put some fresh water in there and see it flush. Very powerful. Very powerful. So it wasn't anything like that when I took it apart. It was much slower. It works great.